After the descriptions of the world-famous Taj Mahal, we then think of Emperor Aurengzeb. Here I am quoting from page 275 by a book called The Quest of Identity by Sher Ali Patauti. He writes, I visited Emperor Aurengzeb's tomb at Huldabad, 2 kilometers from Daulatabad and 32 kilometers from Aurangabad. He had willed that he should be buried in a modest grave, which should be kacha, meaning earth in this case, with no covering of any kind on top. The only money to be spent on his funeral was what he had earned in his lifetime by making, that is, knitting, the prayer caps and copying the Quran. The striking part of this tomb is its utter simplicity and humility. Here lies buried the greatest of the Mughal emperor, whose empire extended from Burma in the east to the borders of today's Soviet Union, beyond the river Oxus in Afghanistan in the west, from Tibet in the north to the tip in the south of India. If there was any other great ruler, it was Babur Zahiruddin. Both led simple and austere lives. Both were brilliant soldiers. Both could be ruthless, and both could be generous too. Khwaja Zainuddin, a Chishti saint, is also buried here. Aurengzeb's grave is in the southwestern corner of this compound. After the rebellion of his son, Aurengzeb left Agra and Delhi in disgust in 1681 and never returned to the north. He liked the undulating hills of the Deccan Plateau and died there at Ahmednagar in 1707. He came to be buried where he is, not only because of the presence of the saint here, but also because he liked Daulatabad, where Muhammad Tughlaq in 1327 had transferred the capital from Delhi and built a new town 30 kilometers from here named after him, Aurangabad. The Chishti saints were sent there by Khwaja Nazimuddin Chishti. They were sent to this place 2 kilometers from the Ellora caves, which was then a big center of Hindus to preach Islam in the midst of idol. The first one to arrive was Khwaja Muntajauddin, and after his demise arrived his elder brother Khwaja Burhanuddin, who is buried across the road to where Aurengzeb is buried. Near this saint's grave is buried Asif Jah, the first Nizam, that is, the Aurengzeb's Subedar of Deccan, and the first of the line of the Nizams of Hyderabad. He lies there buried with his wife next to him, both in simple graves with no covering on top, just like his master and benefactor across the road. In the area where Aurengzeb's tomb is located, his son Azam Shah and his wife are also buried in simple and uncovered graves. In 1664, this prince built for his mother a magnificent tomb 2 kilometers from Aurangabad, known as Bibi Ka Maqbara. The Indian Archaeological Notice Board at the entrance reads as follows. Tomb of Aurengzeb's wife, constructed by her son Prince Azam Shah, to the memory of his mother, Dilras Banu Begum, popularly known as Rabia Daurani, that is the present Rabia. The name is associated and is reminiscent of the great Muslim lady Saint Rabia, built in 1660. a replica of the Taj Mahal at Agra. According to the inscription on the gateway, the architects were Ataullah and Hanspat Rai. Its cost given in Aurengzeb, the history of Aurengzeb reign, was 665,283 rupees. It is the finest mausoleum of its kind that I have seen. It is exquisite in style, proportion, and shape. In its garden, beautifully laid out with the hill of the Deccan Plateau at background, the tomb comprises the grave of Princess and Queen of the House of Taimur. Fits in so harmoniously, peacefully, and aptly. The whole construction has been executed with such perfection by those two architects, Hindu and Muslim, that one gets a feeling of their devotion in these surroundings. Those who malign Aurengzeb as anti-Hindu may not feel happy over this combination of intellect. If Aurengzeb was ruthless with rebels who happened to be Hindus, he was just as ruthless to his co-religionists, the Muslims. His courtiers comprised Muslims as well as Hindus. His trusted generals were Muslims and Hindus. He was one who trusted Raja Jai Singh of Amber and Jaipur to command the Mughal army against the Muslim rebels in Afghanistan. He is the same bigot, according to some prejudiced historian, who married his favorite son to a Hindu princess, and she and her attendants were allowed to practice their religion rituals within the palace quarters. Aurengzeb and Shivaji have to be portrayed as heroes and villains by Muslims and Hindus. I suppose because otherwise that special class of leadership that thrives on such things and actually owes an existence to this bigoted approach will not be able to survive for long. Both of them, Aurengzeb and Shivaji, was normal beings trying to survive in their own ways in the kind of world they lived in. Shivaji was a nuisance to Aurengzeb's administration, therefore something had to be done. Had he been a Muslim and created nuisance, Aurengzeb would have dealt with him in the same manner as he did with Shivaji. The Indian Archaeological Department unwittingly pays a compliment to this Mughal emperor by exhibiting a notice at his modest grave which reads, "This area is protected under the Indian Historical Monuments Act of 1958. The name Emperor Aurengzeb does not occur anywhere in this notice, and yet thousands of visitors go there to pay their respects every year, finding their way by inquiring from people living in the area. All this proves that his name lives." I have been always struck by the simplicity of Aurengzeb. He was probably the richest king in the world of his time, and he, although in court he used to wear very expensive dresses, beveled with jewels and everything, but in real life he was very simple and desired to be buried and did not want to waste the people's resources on his graves. With this I end this short one, which is a visitation. Thank you very much.